Hey guys, what's going on? Today's video we are going to be going over a deck that is highlighting the newest card into Marvel Snap, Mockingbird, and obviously she fits fairly well into multiple archetypes, so I'll probably have a few deck lists coming out this week to really highlight where she stands out, but her best home in my opinion is probably going to be in the Thanos list. It's going to be consistently strong and there's a lot of varieties you can do with it. And if you haven't picked her up already from your Spotlight Cash or just using your collector's tokens, I probably would say she's worth it at this point. 5/9 is safe from Shang-Chi at all times, and she's going to consistently get value and really never cost that 5 energy to get out unless you run into Mobius, which you are likely to. He's probably going to be one of the most played cards in the meta for the foreseeable future, as he's a hard counter to Mockingbird and Loki, which are going to be rampant in the meta for a long time. This deck, however, kind of does a great job at getting the Mockingbird out consistently pretty early, so even if your opponent is playing Mobius on turn 3, there's a good chance you're also countering and playing your Mockingbird on turn 3 in anticipation of that, so you're going to get that value, and that's obviously due to the Infinity Stone aspect of the Thanos list, but we have a few other cards in this list that could also sneak out there and add to the value of your Mockingbird. And honestly, this is probably the most consistent Thanos Zoo list I've seen in a long time. It's winning at over 63% right now for me, and it could probably go up with a little bit more tinkering and slotting in different flex cards at this point. And there's just too much value, and it's too easy to get high power cards out, which you'll see in this deck breakdown. So without further ado, let us get into the Mocking Infinity deck list. And moving on to the must-haves of this list, it's obviously a Thanos-based deck list, so we'll just start with him to get it out of the way. We want Thanos in this list because he is creating all the Infinity Stones, which is really what we want. We don't really necessarily care about having Thanos out there. We'll get to him in a little bit in terms of his value at the end of the game, like turn 6 plays, but the Infinity Stones are really there. All the Infinity Stones help decrease the energy cost of Mockingbird, so obviously that works significantly well. And if you are lucky enough to draw Mind Stone in your opening hand and you have Mockingbird in your hand, you should honestly instantaneously snap, because your Mockingbird is going to be 2 energy on turn 3, and you're going to have a lot of combination plays. You're going to be able to just have priority a ton, and you're probably going to win the game easily. And even with the nerf to the Time Stone in the patch yesterday, I would say Thanos is still an S tier card. The Time Stone is obviously not as good as it once was, but there is a ton of value in getting a -1 cost to whatever card you're drawing. You're getting card draw still, so it still works extremely well in this list and is non-impactful to the value of Thanos, in my opinion. And looping back to Thanos on turn 6 or later game plays, this being a more zoo-centric list and getting out all your Infinity Stones and spreading your power kind of horizontally rather than vertically, the opportunity for him to get to the extra 10 power with all the stones out is very high. You got a decent amount of card draw, so there's a good chance you're going to be able to get a big Thanos. So even though he might seem like a dead draw a lot of the time, he can turn into a pretty strong play for you on turn 6. And moving on from Thanos, we have Zabu included in this list as a must-have, simply because there's quite a few valuable 4-drops that work extremely well in the Zoo Thanos type list, so it's nice to have Zabu out there as a potential turn 2 play to get some of the cost reduction out for some of these cards that we're playing, like potentially Khazar, potentially Cull Obsidian. If you were able to play an Infinity Stone on turn 1 onto turn 3 is an extremely powerful play. And I've been running Shang-Chi in the list just to have, because some people are still getting out the early high-powered cards, and it's nice to have a 3 energy Shang out there to quickly alleviate some of the pressure the opponent is putting onto the board. And Mobius M. Mobius is going to be the most auto-include card in probably any deck list for the foreseeable future because of the current state of the meta. He's a great pressure valve to release on Loki and obviously Mockingbird as well, to prevent your opponent from doing the same thing you're attempting to do and get a cheap cards out there. So he's very strong in that front, and there's not really any other great ways to help slow down and alleviate Loki and Mockingbird at this point, so he's going to be an auto include in pretty much any deck list at this point, so look to him to be in pretty much every one of my deck lists for the foreseeable future. And Kyera is a must-have in this list because we are doing a more zoo style, so we're going to have a lot of destroyable 1-drops out there that we need that added protection. I had messed around with armor a little bit just to see if I could play around with the 2 energy, but it's really not worth it. Kyera just provides so much more protection than armor can, so she's going to protect all your 1-drops, and you're going to have a priority a lot of the times. And if you can somehow get out an earlier Thanos, or you're playing Scar like I am in this list and he's out earlier than turn 6, she's also there and helps shield and protect them. So she's very nice to have in this list to help protect and add a big safety net for you. And this being a zoo style 1 energy cost type list, focusing on the Infinity Stones, and whether or not you're playing Squirrel Girl, Ant-Man, or whatever other 1-drops you want to include, Khazar is a must-have in this list, simply because of the fact there are multiple ways for you to win with this deck. And if you can see that the power vertically is not going to help you win and you need to be more of a horizontal spread out power, he comes in extremely clutch in many situations. He adds all the power to the 1 cost for you. Your opponent's not necessarily expecting a Khazar in the list on top of a Blue Marvel, which we're playing, so there is a bunch of power that can be added to your low cost cards very quickly at the end of the game that your opponent just simply won't be ready for. And it works out nicely most of the time when you get Khazar out there. And moving on, we have Cole Obsidian, and he simply just has too much value not to be included in this list. The 4 energy, 10 power is an incredible stat line, and the fact that you have all these Infinity Stones out early in your game, he's gonna be able to get out there pretty easily, and you're gonna have a bunch of the Infinity Stones in play, so you're going to probably have the option of whatever lane you really want to throw him into. So he'll help you with earlier priority if that's something you need. So he's probably going to be an auto-include in any Thanos list for the foreseeable future. There's no reason not to have him. He's extremely strong. And as I was mentioning earlier, if you get an Infinity Stone on turn 1, a Zabu on turn 2, it feels incredible to play a 3 energy, 10 power Cole Obsidian on turn 3, and a lot of the times your opponent is never going to be able to recover from that swing of power that early. And I touched on Blue Marvel a little bit earlier. He is a must-have simply because you want options in this list for spreading your power horizontally rather than just vertically, and he pairs very nicely with Khazar and all the lower cost cards you might potentially have filling up your board. So he's there to help increase your power across the board, and a lot of the times your opponent isn't expecting you to be running 2 cards like Khazar and Blue Marvel to buff up a lot of your cards. And finally, the last must-have is Mockingbird, the star of the show, the star of the week, the star of the meta for the foreseeable future. She's statted at the 5 energy 9 cost, but she's really never gonna be 5 energy for you to play unless you have the misfortune of drawing her later and your opponent has a Mobius out on the board. It's way too easy for her to get out onto the board in this deck for 0 energy, let alone 2 or 3 really early in the game. She just is going to have incredible value all the time. She's not a Shang-Chi-able target unless you have your Blue Marvel out already. She's just extremely, extremely strong in this list, and a must-have and a must-buy in the collector's token if you have the funds to do so. And moving on from the must-haves, we're going to work our way over to the flex cards. And the nice thing about the Thanos archetype right now is, depending on your collection level, you can really mix and match and play your own style very easily. And so you don't necessarily need any of these cards that I have in here. You can kind of put in what you want, but these are some of the cards I've been playing around with and have found the most success with thus far in the zoo type Thanos list. And my first flex option is going to be Ant-Man. He was recently buffed, so when you fill up your location, he's going to now be a 1/5, which is an incredible stat line. Like, that's the equivalent of Titania, and she has the potential to be on your opponent's side of the board. And with this list being the zoo style, with all the Infinity Stones, with some of the other cards we're playing, you're going to consistently fill up your locations, so he is going to get that power buff consistently. So he works very well in that aspect. And obviously, he also is going to get the power buff from Khazar as well as Blue Marvel if you have to go that route in the game to win. He's extremely strong and can work easily in this list if you need him to. And honestly, probably the most surprising, well-performing card that I've slotted into this deck list, and she might even be borderline a must-have in my opinion, is Squirrel Girl. She's performing extremely well, and when you have to go horizontally in power, she works great as a counter if you've already been Mobius by your opponent's board and you can't really effectively get your cost reduction working. She's a good way to fill up the locations that you need to help your horizontal power spread, and her 2 squirrel tokens obviously work extremely well too with the Mockingbird and reducing her cost. So I cannot say enough good things about Squirrel Girl, and she is an extremely strong flex card, borderline a must-have in the list to really elevate Mockingbird and your Khazar and Blue Marvel. And in the same realm of Squirrel Girl, Dazzler has been a card that's been performing very well for me in this list as well, because once again, there's the potential for horizontal power and needing to fill up your locations a lot in this list, and Dazzler can easily get up to a 2/8 by the end of the game, and then obviously she can get the Blue Marvel buff as well. She works pretty well at the 2 energy slot in this list, and consistently is going to be at least a 2/6 for you probably, so she's very strong and works well with this archetype. And I have Rogue as a flex card in this deck simply because of Mobius and Mobius. I think she's going to be a potential flex card in a lot of decks for the foreseeable future, simply because if somebody plays out a Mobius early, you can punish them. And worst case, she's in your hand towards the end of the game. There are a bunch of strong ongoing cards out there that are still being played, like in the tribunal lists, for example, and you could throw your opponent off pretty easily and steal the ongoing ability at the end of the game and really mess up their game plan and steal you a victory. And Shang-Chi is forever going to be a potential flex option. He's obviously a great way to destroy some of your opponent's power earlier in the game, later in the game to win a location. He's simply very strong at doing that, so he's forever going to be a potential option for you to interrupt what your opponent's attempting to do. And it works nicely in this list because we're playing Zabu, so he can also just be 3 energy instead of 4. And the final flex card that I've been playing a ton and is seeming to work very well for me is Scar. He works really well in this list because he's not really necessarily expected when your opponent kind of sees you're leaning towards the more Zoo style of the Thanos list. And obviously if you get Cull Obsidian out, he's going to be 4 energy, which works really well for you because you're going to be able to do a lot of different potential combo plays. And if you got your Mockingbird out early, there are a ton of ways in terms of locations that will easily get her up to 10 power that can just reduce his cost even more down to 2 energy. Or if you had Blue Marvel out with Mockingbird, she's going to be 10 power as well in that situation, so your Scar will get reduction from both of those ways. And he just works pretty well and is a huge stat line, usually a 4/11 in this list, and it's nice. So guys, that was kind of a quick breakdown and overview of this Mocking Infinity deck list. There's a ton of stuff you can do with it, like I was saying, in terms of flexing in your own options. There's really only a few core cards that you need to really take advantage of the Zoo aspect, but Mockingbird is going to work really well in pretty much any Thanos list you can cook up, so if you just want to play something else, just use Thanos and you're going to have success. And before we move on to the high-level infinite portion of the video, it's the part of the video where I want to remind everybody there's still over 95% of you that are watching this channel that are not subscribed, so if you could do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, like, comment, it would mean a lot to me. Thanks. And there have been quite a few people who have been requesting more gameplay, so let me know what you think in terms of video length you guys would like to see in these deck breakdown videos. I don't want to overwhelm anybody with the sheer length of a video. I think the 20 to 30 minute range is probably the sweet spot, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. But with that being said, let us get into the infinite gameplay. And first up here we have Neo-Human, the beautiful man-thing avatar. Moria is fine. Don't really care unless we draw Mind Stone. Mockingbird is good to have in our hand. Hopefully we can get some stones though. Squirrel Girl works for us. We'll take that as a token generator. Our Mockingbird is now going to be 3 cost going to turn 3. And Asgard is fine. We're going to throw Mockingbird down now just in case there's a chance our opponent is playing Mobius. And I'm going to snap as well. And have a lot of power on Asgard to get more card draw set up for ourselves. He's playing a Patriot list. It's fine. We probably gonna go ahead and just play Coal Obsidian here. It's a little greedy. Actually, there's a chance he's playing Mockingbird and has Mockingbird in his hand, so I'd rather have Mobius out. Wow, that's a unbelievable hit for him. So lucky. But we're still not in terrible shape here. We can throw Coal Obsidian down and a Space Dome. We'll get extra draw. See what he does here. Obviously, we're very scared of Ultron at this point. Now, what is the play here? Probably gonna throw our Soul Stone down middle here. Thinking moving Coal Obsidian and having Scar right might be enough to win it if he's not anticipating all that movement and power into the right lane with the Scar. He plays Onslaught. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But that Scar, that extra 11 power is just enough for us to sneak out a victory. So the movement of our power really worked out for us there in the end. And next up we have Prudent Farming. It's probably a Thanos mirror match here. Mojo World is fine for us. We'll throw down the Soul Stone because we have Mockingbird in hand. If I can get Mockingbird down to 3, that'll be nice. Solid turn 3 play. Time Stone, the nerfed Time Stone. We're drawing 2 cards here. Okay, I like the shape we're in here. Going to Time Stone myself, and I'm going to Reality Stone the Mojo World away. And into another Nova Roma. We are just drawing cards. Cards on cards on cards. Alright. So now we have the 2-cost Mockingbird, which is what we were looking for. I'm going to throw her into the Baxter building lane. And I'm going to throw Ant-Man down into the left lane here. He throws down a Chiera, which is fine. We're now going to throw down our Chiera as a defensive posture. We don't want to have the possibility of him having a Killmonger. Board is setting up very nicely for our blue Marvel and Khazar finisher. Spread out our power very nicely. He is really thinking about his turn. Just really thinking hard, long and hard about that coal obsidian play. It does make our turn a little harder. We now have to decide whether we're gonna blue marvel or coal obsidian and mine stone. I think we're gonna move Mockingbird over to Olympia to protect it from a potential Shang-Chi here. Lockjaw into a Soulstone. Brings out the Devil Dino. Not sure he's going to be expecting a Scar here. Scar into a Power Stone, into a Mind Stone. Scar into the Power Stone, into the Dazzler is probably better. Really competing for the location. It really depends on what his Lockjaw pulls out here. Soulstone, not terrible. Gives us a chance. There's his Scar. There's our Scar to win us the Baxter building. Our Power Stone. Into our Dazzler. And that's gonna be much more power than he was able to produce. That's a victory. And next up here we have Jinshi. You like seeing the Mockingbird in the opening hand. Novaroma is good. Gives us a stone. Gives us a token. I don't want to really waste Reality Stone right off the bat. So we're going to go ahead and throw Ant-Man down here. Orcus Forge is not terrible for us, but it does not really do anything for us because our Reality Stone's going to get rid of it. But I'm fine with getting rid of it on the off chance he's playing a Loki list. Shouldn't even say off chance, on the strong chance he's playing Loki. And apparently that was enough for him to get out of there. Next up we have Peter North. Shout out. I don't really want Shang-Chi to get pulled out here, so we're just gonna pass. And Power Stone is good. Ant-Man is fine here. Throw him down with the Space Stone. That way, if we draw Mockingbird, we can play her right now. It's fine, Kyra's a good draw, so we'll play her on our Hotel Inferno, get our free destroy. Oh, and we hit his Patriot, which is pretty big. He hit our Mind Stone, which is fine. I'll go ahead and throw a Soul Stone onto the Brood lane. It's pretty good. Reality Stone, the sewer system, and see what we get. There's his Mockingbird. And we get a Sacred Timeline. Not terrible. Would have would like something else there, but we'll work with what we got. And we couldn't draw our last stone or a Zabu or Dazzler there, which is unfortunate. Down 2 is going to be tough to come back from here. Throw Shang middle. Hopefully we get lucky. And we know we get the opposite. We get very unlucky. And next up we have Fate, the Loki symbol. Can only assume he's going to be playing with Loki, with the Loki avatar. And the Collector pretty much affirms that, but good thing we have Mobius in our opening hand. Ant-Man is fine. Oh. That's pretty good for us, huh? The old one-powered Mockingbird on turn 2. Throw her there, and I'll just throw Ant-Man down mid. Let's see. Should I throw Mobius down here? We don't have another turn, another move. Probably gonna just throw Mobius down here and hope he's not playing Rogue. Coulson is fine. Even Mind Stone is fine here. Helps thin out our deck. In Central Park. And there's the Rogue. Nope. Nico into a bear. That's fine. And our Blue Marvel, that would have been bad. We're okay with that. Go down Blue Marvel here. He is Iron Man. We drew the Thanos. I'm worried that he could potentially buff up his Sokovia lane. Yes, but he hasn't done anything to steal from my deck. Besides Cable. But if he hits Mykazar, we're in trouble. So the play may be a little awkward. We're either Thanosing doing something like that. Let's do that. He did steal my Khazar. What are the odds? Good thing we accounted for that. That is a good victory. And finally we have Rothicus. We have a Space Stone, Soul Stone opening hand, which is pretty good. Squirrel Girl is not bad to have, but you never want to play her that early. So we'll just throw ahead. We'll go ahead and throw Soul Stone down into the Mirror Dimension right now. And he Spider Hams Interstars Thanos, not a big deal. And Thanos is going to sit there the entire turn, so even if he's doing other stuff, we don't care. And we're going to Power Stone and Space Stone into the Pet Mansion right now. We really want to get the card draw from the Space Stone. And I'm not willing to fill up locations yet with the Squirrel Girl. Go said Sunspot and Misty Knights. And the hub gives us a Sarah. Not ideal. Kyra is a pretty good draw here, so we're just going to go ahead and throw her down and onto the hub. And he got Korg from his hub, which is pretty advantageous for him and my Artie. That is a great pull from the hub for us. We drew our other Coal Obsidian. I think we're gonna play Coal Obsidian right here into the left lane. And he knows that's from my deck, but he can't be expecting another Coal Obsidian from the hub, which we are gonna do. Play that right now. And I think I'm gonna play Squirrel Girl as well. It's a lot of power. Imagine we're getting some movement cards over in his Hope Summers lane, maybe the Vision. Ooh, She-Hulk, okay, that's fine. Okay, there's multiple cards we can draw now that are very good in our deck. Dazzler, not the best, not terrible. Yeah, and he is afraid of the power that I produce and is out of there. So guys, that was some high-level gameplay of the Mocking Infinity deck. Let me know what you think. It's winning at a very good clip in Infinite right now, over 62% at least. It's fluctuating a little bit, but it's not the most common zoo-type Thanos archetype out there right now, so you can surprise some people, steal some cubes, and you can win some games either with vertical power or horizontal power. And if you made it all the way through the video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, guys, and I will see you on the next one.